Hello everyone, LauraKBuzz here, and I am doing another one of these impromptu impressions pieces talking about my experiences going hands-on with the Switch 2. Around a month ago at the time of recording this. It was in mid-April. We are now in mid-May. These videos are just me doing my best to show unedited gameplay, with as clear a view of the game as possible while talking a little more in depth about my opinions of some of the games that I went hands-on with, compared to the Switch 2 overall accessibility hands-on impressions piece I did about a month ago, mainly because I was trying to get through a lot of games very quickly in that video, and here I want to just go a little more into depth on some of them. So before we really stick into Metroid Prime 4 Beyond here, we've got a little bit of footage of me holding the controllers and being shown how to use them. This is mainly because for the hands-on experience, I needed to get some gameplay footage I could use in other coverage of what the Joy-Cons looked like, how the different mouse modes worked, particularly some footage of Joy-Con mode and mouse mode. And this was the best opportunity I got for that. Some of the booths were very particular about footage and didn't want me capturing certain things. So I tried a couple of times during this to get footage of myself using the controllers in mouse mode. You'll see some of that as we go. So, here we go. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond gameplay. As you can see, I've done my best to stabilize it, full screen this, get it so that it's as close as it can be to what I was experiencing. Granted, I was playing this in 120 FPS mode on the TV when docked, and I'm capturing only at 60 FPS from a phone camera mounted to my chest, with whatever glare is going to happen from pointing at a TV. So it's not going to be perfect one-to-one, and I would struggle to quantify quite how good that 120 FPS mode is. I'm gonna try and talk about it here, because this is the first game I really played in mouse mode to any serious extent at the hands-on event, and when we're in this room here, you'll see me start messing around with mouse sensitivity to get a sense of, just trying to get a feel for how the mouse mode works, because I hadn't really tried mouse mode. I appreciate that there are sensitivity toggles, and as you're going to see, I whack it all the way up, and a tiny mouse movement basically does a 180-degree turn for me. If you want to play this like a twitchy first-person shooter, the Joy-Con mouse has the sensitivity for that. A lot of this was me just getting used to this. So what you're seeing with me here, taking a second to get used to the controls, is I didn't know before going to this hands-on that when playing in mouse mode in Metroid Prime 4, you still have to press the face buttons on the sideways Joy-Con. So, in this example, if I've got the Joy-Con on its side because I'm using it like a mouse, but I still want to use the scan visor, I believe it's the Y button to access the visor, and using my thumb as if it was pressing the side buttons on a gaming mouse, not something I'm hugely familiar with, so it took me a second to get used to. What I tended to do as I was playing was, if I wanted to morph ball or scan visor, I would pick the Joy-Con up, press those buttons, put it back down, go back to shooting in mouse mode. There is no delay. If you put the Joy-Con down on the table, now you're in mouse mode. If you pick it up, you're back in regular mode. The seamlessness of that took a bit of getting used to, but it is really nice in practice. So yeah, talking about playing this in mouse mode, because I think that's the most interesting place to start on this. If you're not using lock-on, which you can use with L2 at any time, this functions like any other first-person shooter would with a mouse. You move the mouse, the camera basically instantly moves. There's basically no dead zone. The reticle always stays in the center of the screen. Any mouse movement moves the camera. Using lock-on is fascinating, and I think it's wonderful, but it took some getting my head around, which is the camera locks onto the enemy, but moving the mouse causes the reticle to move away from the center, and that's not a thing you typically do in PC shooters when you're using a mouse. And the flexibility it provides is really nice for being able to keep an enemy on screen, but do things like, I want to lead the shot slightly, I want to oh, that enemy's about to, like, is moving to the right, I want to fire a little to the right of the enemy so that my shot hits them as they continue that movement. It gives you really good flexibility in combat, but it's really hard to get your head around. Sometimes moving the mouse moves the camera, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's 0 dead zone, sometimes there's infinite dead zone, essentially. Getting your head around that takes a minute. But the speed at which you can move the mouse is really good. I'm going to talk about that 120 FPS mode a little bit. This is just me trying to get footage of the Joy-Cons for video coverage. Yeah, 120 FPS mode, I really can't overstate how nice that looks. As someone who doesn't own a 120 FPS gaming screen that, like, I regularly use, I don't game on PC hugely often. I play on PC for stuff that is exclusive to PC, and even then I mostly play at 4K 60. 120 FPS mode at the Switch 2 event really pretty overwhelming in how good it looked. I understand why PC purists really love, 120, 144 hertz monitors after this. This game really made me go, do I need to buy a 120 FPS monitor just for when 120 FPS docked Switch games are available, because I kind of want to play them that way. Because the alternative is, obviously, I play games like Metroid Prime 4 in handheld mode, because there is a 1080p 120 FPS mode for this game in handheld mode. But the problem is, I really like mouse mode. I really like the mouse mode controls. We'll use an example of mouse mode here. I'm locked onto the center target on the door, using the mouse to aim at the targets around. Like, this door feels purpose designed for teaching you mouse mode. Its lock-on is required to get through the door. It fixes your perspective, and it forces you to go, hey, you're locked on, move the reticle away from the center. This was where I truly, understood what mouse mode was doing in that previous firefight, because it was chaotic and visually stunning, and, I hadn't really internalized before these doors quite what this was opening up, flexibility-wise, for me. But yeah, I enjoyed mouse mode so much in this game that I was like, I don't want to have to play in handheld mode to get that 120Hz experience. I might need to buy a 120Hz monitor just for playing stuff like this. And, I have consoles that in theory have games that have 120 FPS mode already. I have a PS5 Pro. Games like Gran Turismo, for example, I believe has 120 FPS mode. I never felt the need to go get a 120 FPS monitor for that, but weirdly, just the switch to putting 120 FPS games in my hands was like, oh yeah, I do want to play them this way, actually. So yeah, back to talking about game impressions. I've not talked a huge amount about, overall thoughts here, because so much of this demo, outside of resolution, frame rate, and mouse mode, it feels very Metroid Prime. Obviously, the opening has, way more cutscenes and conversations with NPCs and, more cinematic stuff going on. But it very much is Metroid Prime. Most of this demo, if you don't already like Metroid Prime, you're not going to like this. If you already like Metroid Prime, you know you're going to like this. This boss fight was, I think, where... it's a bit bullet spongy, but this was the place that forced me to, really get my head around the new controls and what this game is doing interestingly. So, this boss fight, as you can see, it requires a lot of aiming at specific body parts, which is obviously, for Switch 2, going to force you to try and do lock-on to keep the enemy on screen, mouse movement to aim at the specific body parts, get used to doing that. But it also forces you to do lots of double jumping, transforming into morph ball mode later on to duck underneath big energy blasts that are being done, fire at these sort of incoming bouncing projectiles. It wants you to be using a lot of the face button commands on the Joy-Con while using mouse mode to aim. And what I found worked best for me here was double jumping, pretty easy to do while in mouse mode. I didn't really have a problem with that. But any time that like I recognized I had to go into Morph Ball, I would pick up the Joy-Con, press the Morph Ball button, unmorph ball, put the Joy-Con back down. And getting into that rhythm is what really made me go, like, I'm kind of glad, at least for the demo, I'm glad that this boss is tuned to be a bit bullet spongy, in that it gave me long enough, under enough pressure, to get used to these controls and to really soak in, this is how this new game controls. Because, yeah, as much as on paper, move with the left analog stick, have a mouse in the right hand, is very intuitive, it's not a thing I have experience with, and I had to have time to go, not just can I do this, but have I done this enough times to know I'm comfortable, it's locking new muscle memory into my head, you know. I do have a lot of excitement for this game. I wonder how this game is going to feel... I'm trying to work out how to put this. Playing this in 120 FPS mode with a mouse, and then going back to playing it with an analog stick, I've never been using a mouse in first-person shooters person. It's not a thing I have great coordination for. I don't play a lot of PC first-person shooters just because I don't have the coordination for, like, WASD plus Shift, Tab, Q, E, R. I don't have the left-hand dexterity required to press lots of buttons with my left hand reliably without looking and taking my hand away and moving it. This has really sold me on mouse controls in a way that playing on PC never did, and I don't know if I'm going to struggle to play this in handheld mode because I've played it in mouse mode, and I feel like, God, this must be what PC first-person shooter purists feel like. And that's maybe the biggest compliment I can give this demo, is it made me a hardcore controller console player go, ooh, do I finally understand PC people? Did this game make PC controls, like the appeal of them, click in my head properly? Because I think, as you can see as I play more of this, I get more comfortable with flitting around the controls, tweaking the mouse sensitivity to a place that's actually useful, going in and out of lock-on a little bit. I wouldn't want every boss fight to be this bullet spongy, but for a demo, I think it was a really important barrier for, like, go on, Laura, commit to using mouse controls, stop half-arsing this, get to grips with how you're going to do this. Apologies that the footage has been drifting further and further off screen and more to an angle as this boss fight has continued. As I say, I was playing with a chest-mounted phone mount to the best of my ability capturing footage in a situation where, like, Nintendo wouldn't let me set up just like a nice tripod or anything. But yeah, I think I'm about to come to the end of the boss fight here. God, this game looks great and plays great. It's not going to dramatically change your opinion of the Metroid Prime series overall, I don't think. But it did sell me on maybe I need a 120 FPS monitor, maybe I gotta start playing my FPSs with a mouse. I kind of hope that this has a multiplayer mode. I feel like with this mouse controls, now might be the time to bring back the idea from Metroid Prime Hunters, maybe give us a Metroid Prime multiplayer shooter mode. Make this Nintendo's Halo. I'd kind of be really into it. And I never cared about Metroid in that regard before this, and this really sold me. Anyway, I know this is a bit waffly. I just wanted to show you my Metroid Prime 4 footage and chat about what I thought about it. There you go. Thank you very much. Bye.